Hello, welcome back to Film Smart. In this episode, Josh and I are going to review Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I know a lot of discussion going on around the internet uh, about, about this movie.
Yeah, it's very divisive.
So, yes, like the critics. Well, I want to establish this real quick too. The Rotten Tomatoes score is at 93% for critics. The Metacritic, I think, is at, I want to say, an 86, something like that.
I mean, it's acclaimed, but the fans were the ones that, which, I mean, there's genuine reason for some. I mean, I feel like there's room because there's so many generations of Star Wars fans too.
Well, yeah, but also I want to say too, like the Rotten Tomatoes, with it being a 53 or 56% audience rating, there have been claims made by people that they have bots that are actively trying to make downvote the movie. Also, you don't have to see the movie to downvote it. Also, you can vote as many times as you'd like. So I don't take that score all that seriously. I'm sure there's a lot of fans who don't like it, but there's also a lot of trolls.
Yeah.
And when you look at the cinema score, which shows that people have seen the movie and they only vote once, that has an A. So, that looks good. And then no one ever brings up the IMDb score, which is I think, a 7.9 now. And while that also can be voted on a billion times also and can use bots and trolls and whatever, no one ever mentions that because it's more positive or whatever. But I just want to make it very clear that there's a sort of a narrative that this movie is split 50-50, and I don't think that that's the case at all. I think there's a loud group of people who don't like the movie, and some of them have legitimate reasons, and some of them are racist and sexist too, by the way, who are sad to see a female-led Star Wars movie, or sad to see Black and Asian people and Hispanic people have lead roles in the movie. And so there's that too, which I think those people also have illegitimate comments and reviews on the movie. I don't care what they think about the movie if you're starting from a point of being angry about something like that. So I just wanted to state that at the beginning. So we're just talking, the people who we're seriously talking about are the people who are mad about the movie, not about. And if you're mad that if you think that Finn is token or whatever, I don't agree with that, but at least that's feeling about that. But if you're just mad because he's Black, I don't care what your thoughts are on it at all. But there's nothing to talk about. If you're mad that Rey's a woman, we have nothing to talk about.
Exactly. There's nothing to say.
Yeah. So there's nothing to say to them. But we're talking about like the loud group who are just angry about the movie because they had their own expectations or whatever, and it just didn't turn out how they had hoped. So into what we liked about the film, because I think both of us liked a lot about the movie.
Yeah.
But I want to go. Let's talk to you, Josh, but first, but what did you like about Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
I'd have to say a few things that I liked were the things that okay, so I'll say some things that I didn't like at first that I actually came to really like. Vice Admiral Holdo. I love
Laura Dern.
Yeah, I love Laura Dern. And then when I saw her, when she first came in, though, she was really annoying.
She looked like a Hunger Games character.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah, and she was really bizarre. I was like, I don't know how I feel about the purple hair, but it grew on me throughout the movie. But I actually felt something for her when this is a spoiler review, by the way.
We always forget to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt for her when she was the last one on the ship and then just really decided to go light speed into Snoke's ship.
Which was possibly the best scene in the movie because it was silent and my whole theater was like, oh.
Me and my mom both were like, what? That was literally hilarious. Like, I was just like, what? I for some reason I couldn't believe that she did it, but that's totally rebellious to do. Like, you always have to be willing to sacrifice yourself. And I think that was what, after she did that, I really gained a lot of respect. I mean, I know it's a movie, but at the same time, when you think about the context of what was really going on, like, number one, she stayed back on the ship. I already knew she was a hero then. Number two, she drove a ship at light speed into another cruiser. Like, what? If that's not the coolest thing, that's really awesome. Like, and I was actually kind of upset though, that she did that because I wanted to see more of her.
I've heard a lot of people say that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind her coming back. She doesn't need to be like a huge role. Like, she doesn't have to be have her own storyline. But like, having her around wouldn't be that bad.
No, yeah, I liked her a lot, and I thought she was, at first you didn't know how to feel about her, but she turned out to be this really strong character.
Mm-hmm. They had to give her a chance to get there. And then some other things I loved. I love Rey. Love Rey. Like, ever since The Force Awakens, I have actually just loved Rey's character so much. And okay, we're going to go into don't likes later. Yeah. I love Kylo Ren too. Love both. I think I like Kylo Ren a lot more this movie than I did the last one for some reason.
That's interesting.
Like, this time around, I felt for him because I felt more his his struggle this time around. Because for some reason, like, there'll be things that random things that I just don't buy. And in the first movie, I was like, okay, I didn't buy him. And this time I was like, I put them out of stock. I love it. I kept buying him. And then what some other things I loved were, I love the real, like, the representation of the Jedi Order with how much of a religion it is, because for some reason it didn't connect with me before that it was basically like not a cult but like a religion.
Yeah.
And that these people, they chose to believe in the Force and to use it and to not pray but like meditate and do all like, and they were manifesting themselves somewhere else, which is very similar to religions now. I mean, they feel as though they're manifesting themselves. Like, you might not see that physically, but I don't know. I feel like there's so much beauty in faith. And I think that was one thing that The Last Jedi actually captured really well, especially with Rey's faith in Luke, even though eventually she had to kind of leave him. She had this continued faith in not only Luke, but the Force, and that there was really something pulling you to be good or bad. Like, there was light, and then there was a definite dark too. And I felt like that type of actual creation of principles for them really makes me, I don't know why that draws me so much to characters when there's actual like motivations and like they feel pressed to do things. And I can just see now
characterization.
Yeah. So that's why I'm just really excited to see how that's going to go for them, especially as Rey like reads up on her texts and more about the Jedi Order or whatever she's going to become. And then with Kylo Ren, how I guess he still does have the good in him, kind of. He's just obsessed with power.
I
just feel like, I don't know. I love where I don't know where they're going, to be honest, but I like what we have. That's what I can say.
I'm torn on if there's good. There was clearly they were trying to show that there was good when he didn't kill his mother. And then they shot her out after that. But they were trying to show that there was some good in him still, or at least he could see the good in her. But I think what the implications are after he didn't kill Snoke because he thought Snoke was bad. He killed Snoke because he wanted the power for himself, and he wanted to end. Because he says an interesting thing to Rey. He said, "Let's let them all." He basically says, "Let's let them kill each other. Screw the Empire or the First Order. Screw the rebels. Let them all kill each other. We'll rule the galaxy ourselves, and we'll just kind of let whatever is going to happen is going to happen." Which I thought was interesting. So with him, I got some sort of like, I didn't get an evil or good vibe from him. I got kind of, he wants power, but he also doesn't really care what happens. He's not really. He's not really for all of this evil stuff necessarily. He just wants power, which is what, that's what the basis of the whole dark side is, wanting power. So I get that. I don't know. I don't think there's really any good left in him. I think he's just sort of, because he wanted, Rey to join him. I think what they're trying to set up is he's the dark side, she's the light side to meet him. And they're going to go head to head in the last movie. And I don't know who's going to come out on top at this point, but
I think I'll actually really love when they go head to head. I'm going to love that because I mean, I think we're so around, like we'll be totally conscious of these movies, and we'll be telling like random kids at the premiere. Mm-hmm. When I was 19, these came out. Rey and Kylo Ren were friends. They hung out together, or like some random stuff, and just to see how they're going to grow. And we'll see that at one point they were reaching out to each other, whether or not that was Snoke manipulating them, but they were reaching out to each other. And so when we see the relationship sour to the point where, I mean, I think they won't even be able to recognize those versions of themselves that were reaching out to each other. That's number one. That's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're just going to get. I really feel like they were both a little bit lost, and for that little bit of time that they felt like the other one might have had the answer, I thought that was sincere. Like I don't know. Like I really loved that portion of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like I didn't think that. I don't know if he was. I don't know if. I feel like Kylo Ren was. I mean, he was being manipulated, obviously, but like, I feel like he really did want Rey to come with him, or whatever. But
mm-hmm.
I wonder. I really do wonder what his plan was. Like, was he going to build his own empire? Well, whatever though.
Well, I mean, now he has his own empire. Basically, he has his own First Order. It is his now, because Hux is, has no power. He's just throwing around like a rag doll.
I actually really like Hux.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of see, because for some reason I'm like, they keep bringing this dude back. Like something's going to happen with him. And Domhnall Gleeson is such a great actor. They better not just waste him on being somebody who gets thrown around the whole time. Like there has to be some type of betrayal or something coming up. Because I love Domhnall Gleeson.
I worry that Hux is going to become he's going to stop Kylo and he's going to become the hero of the story or whatever. I don't want that to happen, only because I don't think he's earned that as a character.
Mm-hmm. They haven't given him enough pull yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ever know, like, Phasma and Hux are supposed to be like the next in chain of command?
Yeah, I know. Phasma leads the stormtroopers,
like,
and Hux is like the.
But for some reason, I really felt like they were just grunts. No, I mean, like, I didn't feel like they were nearly as important as they actually are. Like, especially Phasma.
Well, yeah, the movies make no attempt to make Phasma seem important.
Yeah, she has like a whole 30 seconds of screen time every time.
Yeah. They're like, oh, well, go read her book. But
I don't know if do you think she's alive?
I don't think so. And if she is, I don't really care. Like what I've been given is like, what we've been given of her, I don't care. She was so overblown. They're like, oh, Gwendolyn Christie is going to be this chrome trooper, and it's going to look all cool. I mean, and she looks cool, but great.
But like, I was really, for some reason, did they cut something out? Because why would they have Gwendolyn Christie go on the press tour? Like, she's in every interview.
I know. You would think she's amazing. I thought she was going to be a significant part of the story. She's in it for about 3 minutes.
Exactly. And Laura, I mean, like, that's justified because she was a big part of the movie, kind of.
Yeah, Laura Dern is significant.
But like at the same time, I don't know why I expected, since they were on these press tours now, I just expected them to be characters that would all be like in the series for a long time.
No, Phasma is there only to support Finn. Like there's no point in her actually.
It does give him development because Phasma used to be she was responsible for him, and that's why she feels so betrayed that he like deserted. But
yeah, she is only there to service his character.
Which, I mean, I guess she did her job. I kind of do wish that there was more build up for Phasma though, so that when they fought, then I would have actually cared.
But I would have liked their battle coming in episode 9. Like if the thing is coming all apart, why wouldn't you have, Rey's going to fight Kylo, Poe's going to fight whoever, I don't know. He's going to be in X-wing, and then have Finn take on Phasma. Mm-hmm. I thought that would have been. I mean, look, you don't have to do that, but I thought that might have been interesting. But now you're saying unless she comes back, I don't know how she's gonna. She literally fell into like an explosion.
Yeah, so into a pit of fire
onto a ship that had just that another ship had just gone through. So I don't know how she could have survived that.
Maybe she has the Force, like Leia.
But you can't be giving stormtroopers the Force now. Oh God.
Technically, they're not like clones.
Yeah, that's true.
She could be force sensitive, but they're not going to do that because that would just be like too much for them to be like, yeah, by the way, she was force sensitive and now she's a Jedi. But like, I don't know. With Phasma, I did feel a little bit let down because I was expecting her to have. I mean, I was really like, why am I watching all these interviews with her in them if she's literally in it for a minute and a half?
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous.
Like, is she that big of a star to draw people in to see it?
I like her on Game of Thrones, and I like her as a person and all, but no. But
yeah, so I'm like, what? Okay. And dang, I kind of want Phasma to be in it just because I want a toy.
I'm sure they have some toys,
like
great toys.
I know, but when they keep redesigning the toys, I really want to get a cooler one because yeah, I haven't bought any of them yet. I just want I don't know. I just want a really cool Phasma toy because her suit actually looks super cool. So
yeah, it's a great looking suit, great design.
I wonder who's gonna replace her. But well, no, I guess nobody because never mind. But there's what else did I love? I'm trying to think. I still love Poe Dameron.
Yeah, I like that he failed.
Yeah, his role. It was interesting to me because there was a lot of failure. and
yes,
that was the theme because Yoda says failure is our greatest teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Poe fails. Finn and what was her name?
Rose.
Finn and Rose fail, which I was like, wow. Like,
well, that made their whole storyline sort of void.
Yeah, and I mean, but even then, like, maybe for me, the fact that there was so much failure in the movie, like, I understand that was the lesson, but when I was actually watching it, like now, I appreciate that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was actually watching it, though, I felt kind of drained. Like, I was just like, man, I want the rebellion to bounce back.
See, I liked the sadness because when I went into this movie, the one expectation I had was moral ambiguity.
Yeah,
and I got a lot of that from Rey and Luke. So I was glad to see that. And once you're done talking about Poe, we got to get into Luke because that, in my opinion, is one of the best parts of the movie is what they've done with Luke now.
Yeah, I thought he was interesting, but but with Poe, there's one thing about Poe that I love. It's his there's always an adventure to be had with him. So
mm-hmm.
he's very like, well, I mean, Holdo read him like a book, as in that he's very trigger happy and like he's off the wall and out of pocket. Like his heart's always in the right place, but he just might do the wrong thing sometimes, and he's always tries to solve it with blowing something up.
Yeah, his plan led to the deaths of lots of people. And so Holdo and even Leia to a certain extent are like,
And then I was like, why do they have all those bombers out there when they really only need one?
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, because they could have heavily guarded one of the bombers. But
I guess they were just worried about what happened to those bombers. They kept getting.
So. And wow, then when those bombs, that actually looked awesome.
That was a great scene. When I saw that explosion, I was like, whoa.
I thought that was awesome. Yeah.
That was a great explosion.
That was really cool special effects scene. And then the scene, where the light speed, where she goes through the ship, and it's silent for that second, and then
that's probably like if you're just talking about scene to look at, favorite scene to look at, and to experience.
So sad.
Yeah.
Every time I hear one of them say "The Force be with you," I always tear up a little bit. Like I'm such a nerd. When I tell you that I will cry my eyes out over anything that's like remotely hopeful or sad in a science fiction film. Like I don't know why, or like fantasy, like that. I don't know why somewhat like spiritual, like hope actually makes me so. Maybe that's why I think I love Rogue One so much at the end, because I cried my eyes out at the end of Rogue One. And I can't wait for episode 9 because I hope that there's another there's some type of resolve, because this movie was very in the middle, like as in I felt like they just prolonged the problem. There's no the fight is still going on just as it was before, except for we just don't know where the rebellion's going to go from here yet.
Yeah,
but that's why I felt a little bit unsatisfied, was because I felt like it was the middle of the story, because it was a trilogy. It'd be like a trilogy.
A good portion of this film was just an extended chase scene, which I think ended up working in the end. Mm-hmm. But at first I was like, wait, is this the whole thing is just gonna, and then it ended up becoming like a lot of the movie was just them, the First Order chasing them.
And I thought that was interesting because why didn't they come up and just shoot them? Like, I mean, it's not like they had a shortage of Star Destroyers.
Yeah, I mean, if they really wanted to, they could have. I mean, I guess those shields were, just incredibly strong.
Yeah.
But I guess.
I was like, wait, why did they just? They could have crushed.
I think maybe they just didn't.
Like ages ago.
It goes back to the hubris of the First Order and Empire, the idea that nothing can beat us. I mean, think about it. Even though the Starbase killer was destroyed, they've killed billions of people.
Yeah,
they still have all this power, and after all the destruction of both Death Stars and the Star Killer base, they still have that sort of idea that we can beat these guys. No point in wasting resources to take out these different ships. We can follow them for a little while. And I love the technology that they can track them through light speed, which was never a thing before.
That for some reason that really called me back to Star Trek.
Oh, it made me think exactly of that scene. And
that was, remember how scary that was the first time we saw that?
That's a great scene.
You're like, oh my God.
When the father is chasing his daughter's ship and he doesn't know that she's on it or whatever. And that's a great scene.
Catches up so quickly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love that scene. But yeah, that made me think of that exactly. I wish the only thing that, well, actually, no, before I get into that, let's now talk about Rey and Luke, because we've kind of talked about all these other big characters, but these are the elephants in the room. Come on, this is really Rey, Luke, and Kylo's movie. So let's talk about
Leia had kind of a moment.
Well, yeah, she had moments, and I think in Episode 9 she was supposed to be the Luke or the Han of that movie.
Well, yeah,
but, unless they recast her.
She's the only one left because Han's gone. Luke's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, Luke can always be a Force ghost, but like.
Oh yeah, he'll be back as a Force ghost, I'm sure. But
yeah.
And he like says for the Kylo see around can.
Carrie sadly, passed away. But so I wonder. I was also wondering. I didn't know if they were going to send her character off or not.
Yeah, I thought they were.
I found it interesting. I was like, okay, well, I guess they're. I mean, did they film a lot of 9? I really haven't been the production.
No, I think there's 2 things that are going to happen. There's 3 options actually. I think one option is they just kill her off screen in the opening scroll, and say that she died in some tragic thing. Second is they didn't use all of her scenes from Last Jedi, and they put some of those scenes into Episode 9. But nobody has considered that. There's a possibility that there are some leftover scenes, deleted scenes from the movie that they just put in that. And maybe, who knows, she might have been killed off in the movie and they put that in there. And that would be, interesting too. Or they just have other characterizing scenes, whatever. Third, which I don't think anyone's going to be thrilled about, but I hated the idea at first, but I'm open to it now, is the idea of recasting her. But I would prefer not to recast her. I would prefer that they do what they did with Tarkin and do motion capture. So you have an actress put on, you still have her face and everything. You still see her. They don't just cast Meryl Streep or Jane Fonda or someone to play her. I saw people, it's like Jane Fonda. I was like, she's like 20 years older than Carrie Fisher. I don't know where you're getting this from, but get someone, get any actress to do motion capture, play Fisher's role. And, I think the technology, I thought Tarkin looked pretty good, and I would imagine 3 years later, it should look even better. It should look really good. Try to use some of those deleted scenes, if there are deleted scenes, and really get that her face working, because I know they said they didn't want to do CGI, and that technically is CGI, but I think when they were talking about CGI, maybe they meant it in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they would be open to motion capture.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I'd be open to that too. Do you think that they would still kill her off though? Like, as in, like they would use that to tell her story, and then she would still die?
Yeah, I think their idea is to kill all of them off. I think the idea was to have no prisoners when it comes to the old trilogy.
Yeah, Han, then Luke, and then Leia.
There's also a chance that they might bring Lando. I think it's bad. I wish they would have brought Lando in. I think he will be brought in episode 9, just even minor, only because he's going to be in the Han Solo movie. Yeah. So why wouldn't you just bring him? What's he doing now? Just throw him in, or at least I like the idea of in the Solo movie he narrates the beginning of it. Like this is what I like that idea. But I would like to see Land. I mean, he's part of the original group. I know he wasn't in A New Hope, but I consider him part of the OG crew. He blew up the second Death Star. Are we just going to forget that? He should be considered a legend just as much as any of them.
It's true. They don't give him any credit.
Yeah, it's not like Billy D. Williams is doing anything. So, I mean, it really isn't. So, and he's very open to do it. They've said he's very open to doing it. And I know he was talking to Donald Glover, who's playing the younger Lando. They were talking, about the new Han Solo movie. So he's definitely still involved in that world. So why not just throw him a bone, really, and have him play? He doesn't have to play a major role, but maybe he could play, sort of an amalgamation of the Han Solo role and what Leia maybe was going to do slightly, do an amalgamation of that.
That's actually kind of funny. He could kind of pick up where Leia might leave off.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if you have, these people are, what Carrie Fisher showed us is that these people are not invincible, and that terrible things can happen. The guy is still alive. He was an important part of the franchise. Why wouldn't you use him until you can't use him again? I mean, though at this point with Peter Cushing in Rogue One, I guess they can use them whenever they want. He's been dead for 25 years almost, and they just used him in Rogue One. So I guess never mind. But I think we'd all prefer to have the living version. Yeah. Of the person if they're still alive. I just don't know why you would waste it. I mean, he's still around. Use him. I don't know. That's always bothered me that he hasn't been in any of the movies yet. So I hope they throw him in, but whatever. Beyond the point, let's talk about what's going on in this movie. So what I was expecting with Luke is this idea that he failed Ben Solo because Ben became part of the dark side, and that there was really nothing that he could have done. What this movie showed us is that he was right and wrong. In one way, he's right that he failed him because he had a moment of weakness, which I loved. I know a lot of people said, this is not my Luke. My Luke wouldn't have done this. But I'm sorry, he is your Luke now. This is the same guy. This is someone, after 33 years or whatever since the Return of the Jedi came out, this is someone, 34 years, this is someone that has changed, and he's a different person, and he had a moment of weakness. And he didn't even do it. And actually, if he had done it, it would have been for the better of the galaxy. But he didn't do it. He could sense the total darkness in Kylo. Unlike his father, Darth Vader, he could see that Darth Vader always had this fight. There's this light and darkness. There was always good and bad. He was always trying to repress the good in him for the lightness. Just like when he was Anakin, he was kind of always trying to repress the darkness in him. So now he's trying to repress the lightness, and there's always that fighting within him. There is not that fighting in Kylo. Kylo, he might not want to kill his mom, but he's pretty terrible, and he's pretty bad, and he's got a lot of darkness in his heart that really can't be reconciled. I mean, he killed his father, and he was allowed the deaths of billions of people around the galaxy. He didn't stop it. He was complicit in that. So for Luke to see that in him and see that there's nothing to do, and for have just a moment of weakness where he was about to kill him, I like that. And actually, someone pointed this out. This was I don't know if you've seen Rashomon, but it's a Akira Kurosawa film, and a lot of people talk about how Star Wars is partially based off of Seven Samurai, which is one of his probably the most famous movies ever done. But Rashomon is probably the second most famous movie he ever did, and that was looking at different perspectives of the same situation. And so what we see in this movie is Ben's or Kylo's perspective of Luke about to kill him, Luke's perspective of him about to kill him, and then there's a third sequence. And so we see that from Kylo's perspective, it just looked like, oh, my uncle's about to kill me. From Luke's perspective, is I was about to, but then I stopped and I hadn't put my lightsaber away. And I thought the way that was done was great.
Honestly, I love that part too.
Yeah, I thought I just like seeing characters grow. So when people are talking about, this is not what my Luke would have done. This is not 1983 Luke. This, just like 1983 Luke wasn't 1977 Luke. This is 2017 Luke. He's different. And when actually that Luke was probably like, 15 years ago or whatever. But this is a different Luke that we're looking at. And to have the expectation that he would have never had a moment of weakness in all these decades is, I think, to me, is ridiculous. So I love that scene. Say something else, Josh. My throat is getting really dry. Sorry.
Yeah, I also love the scene because, I mean, I think, yeah, it's totally justified. And like, what was wrong with Luke? I mean, I guess the Jedi wouldn't like kill you like that, but at the same time, yeah, was a recluse for a while, and he's the last one. He's literally the last one, so he has a different responsibility on him.
Yes.
So I think that pressure, like the greatness, can get you down sometimes when you're the last one and you're a legend.
Yeah, and what makes Luke possibly the greatest hero of all time is, I think this movie only adds to that, because originally the movies, he's always been outlined as a clear hero's journey, and he's just a clear example of that, and he's a great hero. But what this movie expands upon is showing his humanity, that he's not perfect, that he can make mistakes, and that was almost killing his own nephew because he could see the darkness inside of him, the same that he could see in his father, except it was totally consuming his nephew. So I love that. I love the idea that, I don't know what people need, like Superman and all these other characters, to be just beacons and perfect. Luke has to be perfect. He can't have any flaws. That's not interesting. That's not reflective of the whole point of the great thing about these movies and what we like about them is that we can connect to them. And so if I can't connect to someone who makes no mistakes, that's perfect all the time, Luke has to have some flaws. So I love the idea that he has a moment of weakness. Well, actually, say if you have anything to add, Josh, because I'm going to say something else. But if you have anything to add about this, real quick,
not for specifically the moment like that he has with Kylo Ren, but I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, that they both had their own side of the story, and how there was no. I mean, it was a good way for us to understand Kylo Ren's perspective, because like sometimes people just be evil to be evil, but like they both had there's genuine like distrust and betrayal in his heart, though. Like sometimes the hurt is really deep for him. Like, I don't know, that for him, that's why I just feel like that might be why I connected with him more, was because I see part of why he's bad. Like, and even bad as in like why he's messed up. Like, because I always think that villains somewhat are misunderstood. There are some obviously that are just evil, but then there are a lot that will be like, this is an overreaction to the hurt in their heart. Like,
yeah, well, the idea is like that Kylo is terrible, but I can see where he's coming from. I mean, the great thing about this scene where Luke is about to kill him is that he had the darkness in his heart already, but also that probably pushed him even farther to join the Knights of Ren and to eventually fall farther or further, or whatever the word is, into Snoke's hands. And allow himself to, become a part of the First Order and be manipulated and whatever, and become like his grandfather. I love the idea that Luke, there were consequences to this. Luke, Kylo was always going to be bad, but I like the idea that this maybe pushed him over the edge, maybe. That Luke kind of inadvertently led to this. But what the great thing about the movie is that it sort of tries to redeem this in Luke. Is that, because I was watching a review, and I think this guy's name is Steele Saunders, and he was talking about the first, in A New Hope, Luke taught us sort of finding your inner power, that, taking advantage of what you have inside you, whatever, hero's journey sort of stuff. Second one taught us to like take care of your friends, watch out for your friends, keep all of your eyes open. The third, Luke taught us in Return of the Jedi, sort of finding the good in anything, finding good, believing in people, trusting people, having faith, having hope. And this Luke teaches us at the end of the movie is that you don't have to fight your way out of everything. So instead of Luke using his lightsaber and just tearing up all those new generation AT-ATs and taking out Kylo or whatever, he projects himself. And when you notice, interesting in the fight is that when he pulls out his lightsaber, he doesn't actually hit Kylo or anything. He just moves.
Yeah, he dodges out of
him. Yeah, he dodges him out of the way. It's all sort of out of defense. So they pointed out in the review that while they wanted to see him pull out the green lightsaber and just, tear everybody up, that would not have been as powerful as seeing someone who's, a 60-something-year-old Luke look at this, what's going on, and say, I don't need to fight my way out of this. I can show my true power, my true inner power, by actually taking a step back and literally sitting down, and just because he was just, he just projected himself. He was just sitting down and just sort of, I don't know what the word is, but kind of defend myself, but not actively fight everything. Because the Jedi are not, I think people have a misunderstood idea of what Star Wars is about, or what Jedi are about just fighting and tearing everything up. And that's great and fun to see. But Luke was showing us kind of what the true power of a Jedi is. It's sort of, this is, by showing the projection, he's showing us the most power that we've probably ever seen in a Jedi. Mm-hmm. Forget moving things with the Force and stabbing someone or whatever. He is showing us the true power by projecting himself and by actually almost doing nothing.
You totally just explained Rose's thing she said to Finn was that what's more important than is to protect the things we love, not fight the things we hate.
Yeah.
And exactly. That's true. He was really protecting the rebellion. He was saving, giving them time.
Yes.
That's all he was doing. That's all he had to do.
Yeah, and that's why that scene, it speaks to me so much. It's so beautiful to me, is that he wasn't just, it would, as cool as it would have been to see him tear everything up and go out in a blaze of glory, he went out peacefully.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was beautiful. So, it's unfortunate that other people didn't like that as much or whatever. And I don't even think I fully understood the scene when I watched it. But after I watched the review I was telling you about, I really got an understanding of it. More so. It's kind of spoke to me just watching it. But after they broke it down, it really, kind of touched me when I saw that. There is sort of what makes him, maybe the greatest hero of all time, are his flaws, and the fact that he can come back from that and show the Jedi's true power. This is what the student of Obi-Wan and the student of Yoda would get. The student of Obi-Wan and Yoda would not be tearing up at AT-ATs and slicing everyone up. The student of Yoda and Obi-Wan would know to sit back, reflect, and then, eventually sort of just kind of use all the power you have without actually hurting anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. So that's my. I mean, we're not done talking about Luke, but that's my last talking about that scene, I guess.
But yeah, I think that was a good outlook. That actually kind of brought me around on some of the ideas in the movie.
Yeah, I think that's one of the messages. Huh?
I understand. Yeah, Rose said it very clearly, and Yoda also made it clear what one of the other themes was too. It was on the nose in that aspect. But I think you just tied it together for me, because for a while there I was kind of like, well, okay, it kind of did fulfill that. But looking at it on at that angle, actually, yeah, I think the movie is stronger than what people are giving it credit for.
Yeah, and I get it. I think what people need to understand, though, is because a lot of people were angry that Luke was changed, and a lot of people were angry that they killed off Snoke, which we're going to get into, and a lot of people were angry that Rey's parents were nobodies, because they had spent 2 years talking about this, having all these theories.
Do you think that that was actually the reveal?
I do, because I mean, there's a chance that it's not, but I think that it is, because Kylo says to her, "You've always known, Yeah,
because I'm nobody. Because for a second there, I was like, that felt kind of just anticlimactic. That the way it was revealed, that it kind of meant nothing anymore.
But see, that's the thing about that I liked about it, is that it was anticlimactic.
Like, to me, it didn't even feel like his last resort to like get her to manipulate. Like, I don't know, for some reason it just felt like, well, okay, he just kind of threw that out there, and I was just like, okay. I mean, I didn't care who her parents were.
No, I didn't need her parents to be Luke or.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care. I mean, I think that is important though, that they show that, like, yeah, you don't have to be a Skywalker to be powerful or to be important or to save somebody.
I think
yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I think the scene is it's purposely understating it. Like, it's going out of his way to show how not only are her parents nobodies, but Kylo just sort of says it. And he even says, "You've always known." In fact, I feel like she even said that they were nobodies in The Force Awakens. The whole idea is that she has this emptiness in her because she wants to desperately believe that her parents were Jedis, or that they were these important people and that they're coming back for her. And they're never coming back. They threw you out. They didn't really care much about you. They abandoned you, and they're never coming back. And that doesn't matter because you have your own worth. You don't need them for your worth. So I think that's an important message. And so the fact that he sort of has it as a throwaway line was another thing that I loved about it, about the movie. But I think that the thing is, like, people have been spend so much time coming up with these theories. And my thing about that is, and if you're mad about the movie because it didn't get into these theories that you had, or go into all of these explosive ideas that people had come up with in the last 2 years, that's not Disney's fault or Lucasfilm's fault. Lucasfilm is here to make the best movie that they can make, and they're not watching every YouTube video to see every Snoke theory that you have or whatever. The movie was going to do what it was going to do with or without you. Disney is not like Warner Brothers or others, or specifically DC's part of Warner Brothers, where they're kind of fair weather, and when they see that people aren't responding to things, they kind of change things really fast. That's just not how they operate. So I think to be so angry that a movie doesn't fit exactly or fit what your expectations were exactly is kind of unfair to the movie, because I went into the movie without these expectations, without many of them, and I kind of just said, let the movie be what the movie's going to be. And because I've gone into movies, I remember Iron Man 3 is a perfect example. Iron Man 3 I don't think is a bad movie, but I went into it with such high expectations and different things that I thought were going to happen, and so I came out very disappointed. This movie, I could have had the exact same experience, but I didn't do that. I said, you got to leave anything that you have at the door, and you just got to go in and let the movie be what it's going to be. And for me, and I think you too, we ended up liking the movie because of that. So I think that's just important to have.
Yeah, it really.
Yeah. So what's another aspect of the movie that we're not talking? I mean, obviously we could talk about Snoke. We could talk about Rey training Luke, or Luke training Rey.
Okay. With Luke training Rey.
Yeah.
How long do we think that actually lasted?
I don't know. That's one of my things about the movie is that went by. That seemed to go. There were like 3 lessons, and it seemed to go by like very quickly and sort of.
Yeah. Because I was like, I understand that Rey is a total Mary Sue, so everything she does is just innate. Like, she can just do it. But like, so how if she is supposed to be like, I guess Luke can come back as a Force ghost and still tell her stuff about the Jedi. So I guess that might be what they do. But before I thought about that, and before that's a possibility right now, I was like, so how is she going? I mean, I understand she took the text, but like, she still was never a Jedi. Like, she was never, like, I don't know, to start your own Jedi temple and you were never really like part of an order, or to like train a whole nother generation to like, especially if she's reading those texts, like, to hold up that whole organization that you were never a part of, that's going to be a lot of work. So I mean, hopefully these Force ghosts are like speaking to her and giving her all of this wisdom, because number one, that's going to build her up to be that super powerful, because she might have like Yoda and Anakin and Obi-Wan and Luke as masters. So I'm just like, I don't know. I was just wondering how she was like, what the future of the Jedi or the light is going to be, with her really being the only one left that has that, like, has the capability of bouncing it back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is with it's easy. There's not a lot of predictions you can have with this film, which I think is good. But the couple predictions I can come up with is like clearly that there's force sensitive people out there with the end shot of the movie, which I didn't even notice that the kid used the force during the movie, but I found out afterwards.
I noticed that he picked like the broom came to him.
See, I didn't notice that.
And then the ring, I thought that was really inspiring.
Yeah,
because I was like, you know what? I love the rebellion. There's just something so like I remember I used to play. What video game was that? Battlefront Renegade Squadron. I used to be the best rebel soldier, I swear, in the galaxy. Like, I mean, I just have always felt like the rebellion. There was really some type of even like better than I like the rebellion almost more than the republic, because I just love the fact that like standing up to something is the courage it takes to be part of the rebellion. I mean, it's a lot, especially when you see how much control the Empire had. Like, especially like that one scene I remember in Rogue One when when there was just a Star Destroyer just floating above the planet, like, or floating, like it was on the surface. Well, not on the surface, but it was like floating right above a city. You can't do anything. Like, those people were controlled. They were being controlled. If anything happened, why wouldn't they just blow you up? Like, especially when you're dealing with the Empire and you hear that they're blowing other planets up. Imagine the terror that goes through anybody, because that thing can travel at light speed. So, like, I mean, it's not like
track you.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not like they're not capable of killing you or turning on you at any moment. So when you start a rebellion against something that's so like insanely powerful, I mean, when you really like, for some reason, I just feel like if you really were to put yourself in the shoes of a rebellion, like these movies would be so mind blowing.
Yeah.
If you like, when you really think about how heroic any of them are, even just for getting on that one cruiser they had left, it's still and not giving up the fight to the very last minute. That took a lot of character. And that was what actually I really, looking back, love about the movie, because it's inspiring and it really does have another sense of like, well, anywhere Leia is, there's hope. So that's like a total theme for her, obviously.
Yeah, at the end of Rogue One.
But like, God, now I'm really like in retrospect, even liking the movie more.
Yeah, I think that's me too. I like when I just think back on it. It's just like, I think it's a powerful movie.
It is. That's one thing I really do. The way that they expanded some ideas that we've already heard about, that's really what makes it so powerful for me too. It's expanded upon so much. Like most of the stuff that you've already said is what I'm talking about. But the way they expand with Luke, and they show us a whole different side to every character. Like these people have evolved.
Yes.
And it makes it so much more powerful. Yes, when you see everything culminate into what they are today.
Yeah, and they should evolve. Mark Hamill is 66 now. He should be a somewhat different person than he was in 1983. Yeah,
I can't wait for episode 9.
Yeah, I like the movie just because it's not, if Luke had gone and just torn up everyone with his green lightsaber, that would have been awesome and cool to look at. But I don't think the movie would have lasting power, because I think this movie is going to age very well, like fine wine, I think. And people are really going to come over on it and pretend that they loved it, like they do with a lot of movies today. Like, oh no, I always loved The Last Jedi. Except now, unlike with old movies, we can actually have proof that you didn't like it. But anyway, we can just pull up, comments and things. But I think this movie is going to age very well, and they're going to remember a lot of what this movie was saying. Because what makes the movie great is that it had something to say. I don't need a billion action beats every 2 seconds. Obviously, you need that in a Star Wars movie. But what made this movie cool is that it was like a kind of a smaller scale, which is weird to think, but it really was.
It really was. Yeah, that it was literally the chase scene.
Yeah, and the Force Awakens killed billions of people, but this was like kind of contained.
They have a really good knack for storytelling right now. I mean, what I'm saying is like, they that's one thing I do think, that these are going to age really gracefully, especially The Last Jedi.
Yes.
When less happens in the movie, but it's really not even that's not that less happened, less action happened, but
it's less crazy action stuff. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in this movie, but a lot of
character wise, yes.
And this movie was so unpredictable, which I loved.
I think that's why I really don't even for episode 9. I have no clue what it's going to be about.
Yeah, and I don't know. I love that. These people that are complaining, did you want to predict everything that was going to happen? I don't know. I don't like doing that. I like coming in and then something fresh happens, and then like nobody predicted that Darth Vader was going to be Luke's father, and that's considered one of the greatest twists. And I mean, it doesn't seem like a twist anymore because I was born with that information. I feel like
we were born with the prequel, so we didn't get that cool mind. Oh,
yeah, like when I watched the movie, I already knew that was coming up, so that there was no,
that.
Yeah, but still, that was a genuine surprise in 1980. So I like the idea of being surprised. Why do we have to know? We live in an age where like we predict what the comic movie is going to be about or what Star Wars is going to be about because there's all these different storylines and we've seen a billion movies before it. But I like the idea of coming into this franchise that's been around for 40 years and I don't know what's going to happen. So I would like to see that a lot more. I tell you that.
Well, I think that's exactly what we're gonna get.
I hope so.
And then I'm actually just really excited for these like not standalones, but like offset ones, like the Han Solo movie and whatever other movies that they're planning.
Yeah,
I just love Star Wars, so
I'm not dying to see Solo.
Neither am I. For some reason, now I'm just really excited because I really don't care about Han Solo at all, but I actually just want to see that universe because I know for a fact that I might not care about him right now, but watch by the end of the movie, I'll be a huge fan.
Yeah, my thing is,
once I come to understand him, because like when I watched the old ones, I don't know why I just was bored with him. But
oh, really?
I really feel like because I don't know, there was something about him. I don't know.
I liked Han Solo a lot. I always loved him. The idea of him needing his own movie, I mean, we've seen him in 4 movies. Why do we really need a movie about his young life? I don't know. I get why they'd want to do it. It just seems weird to me that.
Do you think
I always felt like the Star Wars trilogy was his movie. I mean, obviously the Luke movie, but he's one of the main 3.
Do you think it's going to tie in to anything like in the past, like as in lead into something? It's like Rogue One told a story that was kind of disconnected, and then ultimately was like
led to A New Hope.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool because I mean that just made it a huge tie-in, and then had that awesome Darth Vader scene. But like,
I don't know
if Han Solo. I don't know what it would lead into, but
I mean, obviously, it's going to take place in that time between Episode 3 and Episode 4.
Yeah.
And Han's a little older than them, so he might have been like 10 years old during Episode 3. But
well, there's a lot to see between those 2 episodes. So
yeah, so it could take. I think Alden Ehrenreich is probably going to be playing him because you have to think Alden Ehrenreich is like I think when he first played the role, Harrison Ford was 36. So Alden Ehrenreich, I want to say, is like 28. I don't know. I should look that up real quick. But he's not playing him like he's so much younger, Yeah. So I don't know exactly. We're gonna have to see some true character growth, I guess. He's 28. I was exactly right. He's 28. So I don't know exactly. I mean, we're gonna see the Kessel Run, I guess. We're gonna see him with Lando, with young Lando, because that's who I was more interested. Just because I'm a big fan of Donald Glover, and I'm a fan of Lando. And I always thought Lando. I'd like to. I don't necessarily need to see a whole movie about Lando, but I like the idea of seeing, because we've seen less of Lando than Han. So I'd like to see where Lando, what he was up to. And obviously they have that history together. And then I think we're going to see his ex-wife or whatever. I think he was married or something. So we're going to see that. And, Emilia Clarke is in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then how he met Chewbacca, or at least the early days of their friendship. Because, him and Lando and Chewbacca were they've all known each other much longer than he knew Luke or Leia. So it'll be interesting to see how that grew. I just hope the movie is good.
I love Chewbacca.
Oh, yeah, he's great. I wish they'd give him some gray streaks, though.
Yeah, because I'm like, does he get any older?
I know I know they age. I know he's supposed to be like 200-something years old or whatever. But, it would have been cool to have, give him a little bit of some grace. slick gray streaks on his sides. I don't know. I think that would have been kind of
Silver Fox.
yeah. A silver Wookiee. I don't know, or silver bear, maybe he's calling that. But I don't know why they. Yeah, I was like, that could have been really. They still don't. With this, I think episode 9 there's gonna be significant time, difference of time between Last Jedi and episode 9. Give them some gray then, okay?
Yeah.
Just do it. Why not? Leia's got gray. Han is full gray. Luke has gray in his beard. Give Chewie some gray. I don't get why not.
Chewie would look fresh with some gray.
Yeah, he'd look awesome.
We'll see. I'm sure it'll happen.
Missing an opportunity. I was sure it was going to happen in Force Awakens, and they didn't do it. So, I mean, I hope they do it with episode 9, but I'm not sure. I hope so. I think Chewie has been these new movies, I got to say. Because in Force Awakens, Chewie should have hugged Leia after Han's death. He never did that. He just walked. Literally, there's a scene after Han is dead. They come back, and he walks straight past Leia. And that didn't strike me when I watched it the first time. But then someone brought it up, and I was like, why would they do that? They've known each other for 40 years. Your best friend, your ex-husband, or whatever you want to call him, just died, and you just walk past her?
Doesn't he hug her
I thought that was
the Last Jedi? I feel like, does he see her? No,
I'm trying to think if they ever saw each other. I don't think they did.
Luke and Leia. That's Luke and Leia. Because, yeah.
That was a beautiful.
It was, and then I was like, well, I guess to her, that was just as tangible.
Yeah. I don't know if she thought that was real or not.
Well, I mean, she's more sensitive, too. Who knows? Because they could both be feeling, because how Rey and Kylo felt each other. Like, they really were, it felt real to them.
Yeah.
To her.
And Kylo thought that Luke was there.
Yeah. So
she probably did think it was real.
I was gonna say that might have been just as near to concrete as it needed to be.
I mean, she literally could feel him touching her. That's what makes the projection so amazing, is that she could feel it.
That's how powerful Luke really is.
Yeah.
And I love. Okay, one thing when he I remember when he was taking all those blasts and then just walked out of it. I wanted to get out of my seat and cheer. Like I was like, "Woo!" I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
It's funny.
Oh my gosh!
When he first walked in to hug Leia or whatever, and I noticed that like it looked like he had shaved and his hair, he dyed his hair back.
Yeah,
and I was like,
why is he younger?
I was like, so this must be a projection. But then the scene kept going, so I was like, oh, I guess it's not a projection.
Yeah.
And then it clearly was ended up being a projection. But
that the lightsaber, because I was like, doesn't Rey have it?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, never mind, because yeah, his is way gone. But
yeah, they destroyed it.
Yeah, I forgot. I was like, yeah, that's way gone. But I was like, yeah, that one's broken in half, and Rey has it. So I was like, there's something off. Because I was like, unless he suddenly built another one and found another kyber crystal, I don't know how he would have that.
Yeah. So yeah, and then also if when he was walking, they didn't he left no footprints, because when you walk on that planet, there would have been red left.
Red, yeah.
There was none of that left. Kylo, they specifically showed Kylo doing it and not Luke. So that was another thing. It's very clever filmmaking that Ryan used during this movie. Sort of things that you maybe would not have noticed first watch.
Yeah.
Now,
I can't wait to see it a second time now, so I can catch.
I am. Ooh, I can't wait to watch this.
Who is the girl that Lupita voices? What is
Maz Kanata?
Yeah, I need more of her.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like that scene with her, and I wasn't huge on the scene, but I kind of thought it was cool to see her like using a jetpack and shooting at people.
But she intrigues me a lot.
Yeah,
for some reason, I just really want to see what she's all about. Like, I just really have a desire, because I'm like, what is she? She's been around for so long. What is she?
They've got to do something with her.
They have to, because they wouldn't keep putting her in the movies.
Because like you just bring in this new character for what? So she could be in Last Jedi for 2 seconds on a screen. We didn't even see her in person.
That's literally true. I was like, yeah, they really went out of their way to put her in there. So
yeah, maybe if this next trilogy or whatever, it takes place in the past, or the future, I guess too. she's an old enough character though that you could throw her into that too if you wanted to flesh her out more. And she's not a Skywalker, so they wouldn't be breaking their rule that they wouldn't be putting Skywalkers or whatever. So that's a possibility.
Han Solo, does he know? He knew her, right?
Yeah, he did.
What if she's in his movie?
You know what? She probably will be. Although I always get the feeling that they knew each other from between 6 and 7.
Yeah,
like that 30-something year gap. But it's possible that she's known him. I mean, I think she's supposed to be very old. Isn't she supposed to be like 1,000 years old or something?
Yeah, she's had that castle for 1,000 years. She's older than that.
Yeah, so I mean, they easily could have met in his young years too. So that's possible too.
She's old she's old.
She's older than Yoda because Yoda was 900 when he died.
God.
So, and she's had that castle for 1,000 years. So that means, she, like you said, she must be older than that.
No wonder nobody can kill her. She just knows everything.
Yeah. When she I love the scene when she's talking to Finn. She's like, I've seen those eyes and so many faces or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So real quick, because I think we've talked about a lot of it. There's two things that we haven't talked about. The Canto Bright scene, which, the casino, which I think is the weakest point of the movie by far. Because it sort of led to failure and nothing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, I don't know. The casino thing didn't bother me, but it did seem very Earth-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with the Justin Theroux was in the scene where he flicked him his mustache, and it just seemed like, I don't know, it just didn't seem sci-fi to me.
Mm-hmm.
And also, some people said that it gave them a very prequel vibe, which I could see that too, especially when that little guy is sticking coins in BB-8.
Yeah,
that felt very prequel-y, but it didn't bother me. It just was like, I
thought it was hilarious when BB-8 shot the coins back out at the guard.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Like I was laughing out loud. Like, there were a few times where I laughed out. I didn't love the humor from Luke, but there were other times where I loved the humor.
Mm-hmm.
Because BB-8, I want BB-8 droid so badly, more than I ever wanted R2-D2. I love BB-8.
Oh yeah, I mean he's cool. Like I could see owning a BB-8. I couldn't see owning an R2.
Yeah, I was like,
that's a bit much.
I want BB-8. Whatever, I'm gonna get one. But
you can
now, but I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
And what else, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Canto Bight. The thing about that was that, I mean, it was kind of a cool adventure scene, but like at the same time, I didn't care about that adventure, and because it felt, I don't know, it felt really like really useless at that point. I don't know. It felt useless, number one, because they failed, but number two, like for some reason I was expecting Benicio del Toro to have some huge role too.
No.
As in, like, because I was like, well, is he gonna have like a prolonged role? I mean, he didn't die, so he could always be back for something else. But I'm like,
not.
No,
I hope not.
Do you not like him?
It's not that I didn't like it. It's just he didn't offer anything. Like every once in a while, he would say something interesting, like, "Well, they sell to the Republic or the Rebels and to the First Order," which I thought was an interesting point, like a political point that had some relevance in today's world. I thought that was interesting, and I thought, like, he's like, you fight them today, or they fight you today, you'll fight them tomorrow, or whatever he said.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, you fight them. Yeah, I loved that line when he said that to Finn.
Yeah, but I didn't think that overall his character really added a whole lot to the movie.
That was the whole. Yeah, you're right. The whole Canto Bight, and I don't know, which also it kind of undercut Rosa's introduction for me.
Canto Bight did? Oh, yeah.
As in, like, her whole inclusion and, like, biggest part just felt useless to me.
Yeah, because she's sort of like the Lando of this movie. And and I don't mean that in any, like, her character's the same as Lando. They're two very different characters. I just mean, like, we're going to look back on her in the same way that we look back at Lando. He came in the second movie. She's an important character, whatever. We're going to kind of look at her the same way that we do with Lando. I don't know if she's going to end up destroying the inevitable second Star Killer base, but I hope they don't do that. But
you might go to be a bomber like her sister.
Yeah, but I don't know. The Canto Bight just was kind of, the animal thing was kind of interesting, I guess, letting things be free. I didn't really think it was a theme that was all that necessary, but
yeah, I was like, wait, so is this like a PETA ad or something? I was like, what is this?
well, it was weird because like the whole movie was talking about growth and moments of weakness and moral ambiguity, and then it gets into this animal thing, which I thought was weird because I was like, it's a nice message, I guess, but I didn't. It kind of felt preachy, and it was just kind of, I don't know. Clearly, that scene was more for kids, I think. They were like, well, let's have a Disney moment, and they did that. I could see that kind. I'm not saying that that's what Disney said or anything. It just kind of felt kind of like, we didn't need that. So like every time when they were there were a couple points in Canto Bight which I thought were interesting, but it wore off very quickly. But there were a lot of times when they would go to it, and I'd be like, all right, can we go back to Rey and Luke, or can we get back to Holdo and Poe, or like, because I was just getting kind of bored with what was going on Canto. So when they left, I was like, thank God, because that's when it actually got interesting. Was what happened when they were on Snoke's ship, and then we really got interesting when Finn was about to sacrifice himself. So, and I thought he really was going to die. So I liked when they did that.
I really actually, for some reason, I was like leading up to Finn's, like what I thought was going to be his death. I was so conflicted because at the same time I was like, yeah, be a hero, be like awesome, be cool, because we're going to remember you forever. But like, at the same time I was like, dang, I really like him.
Yeah, I know.
And then I was also like, they're not going to kill off John Boyega's kid.
No, I was like that, but that would be a bold choice to kill off one of the big three of this movie, or big four, whatever you want to call it, of this movie, to kill him off. That would be the equivalent. That his death would have kind of served a similar purpose as the carbonite freeze of Han Solo and Empire.
Yeah,
they didn't do it, but they could have. That could have been similar to Empire, but still different enough, because he would have been dead. Like Han Solo came back inevitably. It was it was a sad ending or whatever to Empire, but he came back a few years later. But Finn would have been dead. So that would have been interesting to do it. I'm glad they didn't do it. But at first I was like, oh man, I was getting kind of sad, but I was also like, I was at peace with it. I was like, if you're gonna kill him, this is an honorable way to go out. And it showed growth, because at the beginning of the movie he was trying to escape and go save Rey or whatever. And actually, when you go back to Force Awakens, it was all about him trying to escape then. He's kind of, in a lot of ways, he's like almost like a weasel trying to get out of situations without actually taking a stand. And so all these other characters, Rey, BB-8 to a degree, and Rose, force him to be better.
Yeah.
And like they force him to be a better person so it gets to that point where he's about to kill himself for the rebellion. So I think Finn has changed forever. So I don't think the Canto Bight contributed to any of that. This is another reason why I don't think that needed to be in the movie, because none of that contributed to it. All you needed was Rose in that movie. And then obviously The Force Awakens dealt with it a little bit. But I think what you needed is, it was the characters that led to his growth. It had nothing to do with him being a Canto Bight. So I think that was just an extended scene to lead up to that broom boy at the end, I guess.
That's literally the only purpose it really served.
Yeah, so I don't know why they felt the need to do all that, because I thought that he had a beautiful ending in the movie, but I think he didn't have a whole lot to do in the movie. So I have really mixed feelings about what he did, because I loved his ending, but I didn't hate, but I didn't love the Canto Bight stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of uneventful. It not only was it just not great, fully realized, it was just kind of boring.
It was.
Like, Canto Bight kind of looked cool.
It also felt, I don't know why, it just felt like it was like a distraction for me from the actual plot.
Yeah. There was a way, it's getting really interesting, but let's go flashback to this boring stuff.
It felt so unimportant. Like, as important as it was that they find somebody, like, the other plans were being made. Like, it wasn't like everybody, I don't know. Like, I was like, people were moving on without them. It was a secret mission. Like, nobody even knew they were going until when they like try to perform a coup. Like, I'm just like, this, I don't know, just the whole thing, it felt tacked on. But I mean, yes, it does. It really does exist just to show the little boy at the end, and to give for her to give the ring and spread the rebellion and raise a new generation of people who with hope. And I mean, I guess that's powerful that Rose was able to change that kid's life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, neither of them were Jedi, but they were fantasizing about the Jedi, and she basically just started like, that kid's definitely going to become a Jedi. Like,
oh yeah.
and
we're not going to go back to him. I just think,
I was like,
in the movies,
him, but that's kind of the point, which is that there's a whole new generation out there.
And as much as I love this movie, I personally, if I was to write the story and direct it, I would have had a couple of changes. I like what Ryan did with it, but if I was going to do it, these would be my changes. I would have had Rey take Kylo's hand, and they actually become evil for a little, or not evil, but they rule the galaxy together for a little while. And so she kind of comes back a third into episode 9 or whatever, or halfway through. But she has I like the idea of her temptation and kind of dealing with that. So I would have done that, and I would have never put that scene with the boy at the end with the broom and the idea of hope. I would have cut that out and just had a sort of like the idea of Empire, where it just kind of ends horribly. Our characters are in these places we didn't expect them to be in. It's kind of sad. I would have personally, that's what I would have done. But I think the stories and ideas I come up with tend to be a lot more cynical and pessimistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think in the end, I want the hope. But for this movie, for this, intermediary movie or whatever you want to call it, that's how I would have structured the story, is where Rey does take Kylo's hand. They don't switch places. They just rule together for a little while. And she's not, really into it. I'm not saying she's laughing while she kills people or anything, but she's just sort of with him. And, she kind of comes back stronger from that. And we don't have that hope. And then you put the young boy with the broom at the end or in the middle of episode 9. But it seems like they're trying to fast track that, not fast track it, but they're putting an 8 so that by episode 9, you can already see some of the growth. You fast forward a few years, Rey is training some of these Jedi, these kids or whatever, and she's talking with Force Ghost Obi-Wan and Force Ghost Yoda and Force Ghost Luke, and maybe even Force Ghost Anakin, and working with all these different people to help train these young kids. And that's where we kind of find her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that could be interesting. That seems to be where they want to go. But again, these predictions we come up with. And that actually, I think the last part of the story we didn't really touch on was the Snoke death. What did you think about Kylo killing Snoke and the fight that ensued afterwards?
I liked... I'm trying to think, like, did I like that? Looking back, let me remember. The death of Snoke, okay. I didn't feel like Snoke was... I felt like I was expecting him to have some type of bigger role and, like, build up to the point where I would care when he died.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't invested in him nearly as much as I was invested in Kylo and Rey. So when he died, I was kind of like, okay, cool, that's over with. But what's happening with you guys?
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, I feel like he wasn't... I don't know. He didn't seem like the biggest issue. So that's why, to me, it was just like, well, okay. He's controlling Kylo Ren, but when he died, I was like, well, I expected that because the apprentice almost always kills the master.
Yeah.
I think I whispered that to my mom. I was like, oh, he's totally going to kill him. And, I thought it was a clever way that he did kill him, but I was like, really not since that. But then again, that wasn't the important. I don't think that was the important part to me at all of that scene. I thought it was cool that when they fought not temple guards, but like whatever you call them.
I don't know what you call them, but yeah,
they were really, really cool. But at the same, for some reason, the fight like the way that Kylo Ren fights, I hate it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I don't like, because I know he's like, obviously it matches his personality, like your fighting style. How he's very like his power. He just lets his like anger get the best of him, so he just kind of just beats you with his lightsaber.
Yeah,
and like because you can see like he like throws it around all the time, and so I don't know why like that kind of bores me. Because I loved watching like those really agile, or like when I watched the cartoons or something. I love those really agile and like well choreographed fights. Like Asajj Ventress, every time she fought, it was my favorite thing ever. I loved the way she fought. And then Force Lightning is also awesome. But
Which Snoke had a little bit of.
Yeah, I was like, did he? Yeah, he did use it. Ooh, that's awesome. But
Snoke was cool.
Like, he was, but I feel like I didn't learn. Maybe did I not look enough into it? Because I was like, I feel like I have not learned anything about him to like really be that invested.
No, I think this is another example of people they come up with all these theories and then they disappoint themselves. And I get why you'd be a little disappointed, but when you really look at Snoke, he's kind of, we see about as much of him as we saw of Palpatine in the original trilogy.
Probably why I don't care about.
We didn't see much more. Huh?
I didn't care about Palpatine in like I always was more concerned with the hero and the hero and Darth Vader, like with Luke and Darth.
Oh yeah. Palpatine he's just pure evil.
Because I mean, as powerful as they are, because obviously Snoke and Palpatine are both like super powerful. I was like, well, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they love being like the puppet master. I'm like, if I'm this powerful, I want to go kill some people.
I mean, Snoke wearing that gold robe, he might as well have been holding a white cat and, petting it slowly. I mean, he was just, just pure evil sitting there, and he looked so lazy, and the way that he just moved things. And I like the way that he did all of it. But really, Snoke is just a more interesting Phasma. And what I mean by that is he's there to expand on Kylo's character in the same way that Phasma is meant to expand on Finn's character and cause some growth in them. So we just happened to see more of Snoke, and he happened to be cooler than Phasma. But he really isn't that different than her in that regard. But we built him up to be this bigger thing than he really is. He's Palpatine, and Kylo needed to kill him. Kylo, that's another reason why Kylo clearly is the pure evil villain of the next movie, is because we don't have anyone else now. So unless they throw in some, and I don't want them to do this, to throw in some other villain or whatever, there's some bigger threat. I mean, I guess they could, but it seems like Kylo is they're setting him up to be the villain.
I think there's a really interesting take with Disney on, like, especially with Marvel, like, I mean, just in general, Marvel like tends to focus on the hero more than the villain.
Yes, they go out of their way to.
And I think that's also a little bit what's happening in Star Wars. And with Kylo Ren, they're still focusing on him, but he's the hero of his own story. So
yeah,
that's why I'm just thinking, I'm like, it really is very like character driven. Like the action doesn't drive the story. I actually love that. And because the villains, yeah, they'll come and go, but the heroes are usually the ones that stick around. And that's why it's important they develop them. And that's why I think we care so much about Kylo Ren and Rey now.
And that's how you should do a villain, is Kylo.
Yeah.
If we're going to follow a villain throughout a series of movies or one movie, I can't just have someone who's pure evil. That's not interesting.
There has to be some type of pull, and then something that tips them over that you might feel something for them though. And you'll be like, okay, well, I wouldn't kill all these people, but I do understand. And it's not even that you understand; you just understand.
Yeah, it's just like, because like the reason we love Magneto is because I can totally understand where he's coming from. I could totally, and even someone like the Joker, who has name and quality, what makes him interesting is the fact that he has chaos. He just likes to screw with people. He just likes to mess things up. He's not doing it because he's pure evil and he wants all the power. That's not interesting to anyone. I mean, that's an interesting concept, I guess, but it's not interesting to follow interesting enough to follow for a movie or a series of movies. So the best villains, the reason we don't follow villains in stories generally is because a lot of them can be 1 or 2 dimensional. It's the 3-dimensional ones that get the forefront in stories like The Dark Knight or the X-Men movies. There's a reason why they put such an emphasis on the Joker and Magneto or Darth Vader. It's because these are actually 3-dimensional characters who are in Kylo, who are actually, we can sort of see where they're coming from, or if we can't see where they're coming from, they're just they're at least fun. Mm-hmm. Like Palpatine isn't really fun. He's just evil. Like, he has some cool powers, I guess.
Well, he's a master manipulator, but that's only because we find that out in the prequels. But
yeah.
Without the prequels, I would feel the same about Palpatine as I do with Snoke. Mm-hmm. So that's, I mean, I think I keep forgetting, that it is mirroring the original trilogy more than without the prequels. That's what it's doing. But I don't know. That actually is interesting because I didn't realize. Yeah, that's exactly how I would feel about Palpatine. So I mean, Snoke's death when you asked me that, like coming back around, Snoke's death was cool. I was rooting for Kylo Ren because I actually did kind of want him to go to the light, but then I realized that there would be nothing for them to fight after that. Because like after that, I feel like taking down the First Order might actually not be that hard because they really seem to be less strong, like not as strong internally as like their weapons are. Like I feel like they can be shaken up pretty easily if somebody really went in there to manipulate them. But and like I don't know if this even like it doesn't make any sense for me to bring this up, but the Battlefront 2 like story mode. I remember I watched the game for that, like the cutscene movie. That was really good.
Really?
Yeah,
I know a lot of people aren't liking it, but
I loved it. I've never played the game, so playing the game might be boring, but the actual like, cutscene movie was fun. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, how she like joins the rebellion and all that, but I'm not gonna spoil the whole thing. But
I figured she ended up turning good.
Yeah, that's another like. But then the ending with Kylo Ren is messed up. So like I don't know, that just that it ties into the movie a little bit, but because it's in the future. But like the part with Kylo Ren, it's like right before, I guess it's like kind of at the same time of this movie.
Yeah.
But that was one part that for some reason I just really want to see that type of rebellion again. I don't know. I really want to see some real resistance. I cannot wait to see the rebellion actually like do some damage and like because I love a good comeback story. So
yeah,
when they finally get it like to the point where they're like, guys, we're taking out the First Order, I'm really gonna be like cheering in the theater.
Yeah, that's what makes Return of the Jedi such a fun movie for me, even though it's the worst of the original trilogy, is that it's fun because it's like, it's cool to see the rebellion just tear up the Empire. It's good to see once and for all, good wins out over evil.
I cannot wait to see the First Order tremble.
Yeah.
Have we talked about what we don't like?
I mean, the Canto Bright was pretty much the only, and Phasma, were like the things that those were really the only things I didn't like, to tell you the truth. And I loved everything they did with Luke. I loved the flashback scenes. I loved seeing his life on the island. I love the fish nuns that are people, or whatever they're calling them fish nuns. Yeah. The people that he lived with on the island. Some of the, I know you said you weren't a big fan of some of the comedy, but
yeah,
the comedy overall worked for me.
It threw me out a few times because I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I guess I'm watching an Iron Man movie. And then I also there were some scenes where when Luke was a projection, I don't know why, but like he just looked silly to me at some points. Like the way he was like standing and the way that it was filmed like made him look so skinny, like his legs look so skinny and like I don't know, the way I was just like they couldn't have found a better angle.
That was to see again.
Or he couldn't have like beefed himself up as a projection. Because, I don't know, like even my mom was just like, why does he look like that? And yeah, because I was just like, oh, he looks sick. I don't know. When he was trying to fight Kylo, I was like, is he really about to like have a cool duel with this? Because I was like, is he okay?
I was curious as to why I guess he thought maybe that would be the most comfortable for Leia to see him like that. And maybe that's what Kylo remembered it, because he made himself look to how he looked when he last saw Kylo.
Yeah.
So, and I assume last saw Leia too. So I guess he thought that's like would make them the most comfortable or fearful if he saw them like that. But it's interesting that he did that and not just how he looks now. I don't know, but yeah. So I think we've talked about just about everything. We managed to talk about Force Awakens Episode 9, this, and Rogue One. But
we really did.
And actually, we talked about the OG trilogy and the prequels too. But and I think we brought in the TV show a couple times.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I brought up Battlefront 2 as well, and Battlefront Renegade Squadron, a PSP game.
Yeah. we're getting really concise, Josh, because this, I mean, a couple of years ago, this would have taken us 3.5 hours.
I know, yeah. We really used to be able to just talk.
But I think we got through that. I know people who are listening are going to roll their eyes now that I'm talking about it because they're like, oh, well, now you're taking up all this time now. But I think we did a really good job. I think we talked about everything. So do you have any final thoughts, score, whatever you want to say about the movie?
I'm not going to give it a score. But my final thoughts are that I think this movie was pretty actually important. I agree with you that it's going to age really well. And that, as time goes, we'll see how important it was that Luke did what he did. Mm-hmm. And how, in the end, what he did with Kylo, everything. How important everything that might not seem important now is going to seem way important in the future when we look back. Mm-hmm. And it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Can't wait for episode 9. Can't wait for the spin-offs. Don't want to call them spin-offs, but can't wait for the other films in the Star Wars universe because I love Star Wars. Back to you.
Yeah. Well, since you're not giving it a score, I'm not either. And actually, I think this is a movie that you have to watch a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that's not me saying the movie, because usually if that's the case, I think the movie didn't do its job. But I think this movie did its job tenfold in that there's so many layers to it that to fully appreciate it in full, you're going to have to watch it 2 or 3 times. And I was planning to do that anyway. I said, I saw The Force Awakens 3 times in theaters. So I knew I was going to see this with friends and then with family. And then I figured I'd see it a third time, my third time with friends or someone else again. So I'm definitely seeing this a second time this upcoming weekend or next week when all my family's here for break for Christmas. We're definitely going to see it. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely planning to do that anyway. I think this is a movie that I really appreciate. And maybe by then I can give it a score, but I don't really want to either, especially because you didn't. But yeah, I don't think I could.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think the movie is great. I thought Bryan Johnson is a great visual storyteller. I thought he did a great job with Looper visually, and I think he did that again with this one. But I think more than a visual storyteller, he's a great storyteller. And while I thought the Canto Bright thing was pretty weak, and while the Phasma thing was kind of weak, overall, I thought this movie was really well done and had a lot of interesting themes in it that we've already talked about a bunch of times. And I love what his idea of where these characters are. Because the cool thing about these movies is that Han is, when we see him in Force Awakens, is unchanged. He's the same exact Han that we saw before. He's sadder, I guess, because of his son, but he's really the same. He's doing the same stuff. Luke is totally changed. And so I love to see the complexity that Ryan put into this character. Luke is still our hero. Luke is still the main guy. He is the one that should be the most changed. So it's interesting to see that, see the amount of work that he really put into this character. It was cool to see Leia use the Force. It was weird, but it was cool still, I guess. So yeah, it was interesting to see what the Force could do in this movie, saving her in space, doing projections, doing the FaceTime calls between Rey and Kylo. I love to see their connection. So I'm really excited to see where the film goes and where the franchise goes with Episode 9. I think there's endless opportunities for them to do crazy things that we've never seen in the franchise. And the cool thing is that, like, they're really, we predicted the Jedi school and whatever, but I really don't know exactly where they're going to be going with Episode 9. There really isn't any predictions that I have. Whereas, like, I think with Episode 8, everybody was, who Rey's parents, who's Snoke, all of this. But I don't think there's going to be that with Episode 9, partially because people are bitter about this movie, but also because this movie just kind of did so many different things. It's, who knows where this is going to go. So yeah, I think those are my final thoughts. I'm really excited. I love the movie. That's about it. All right. Well, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, tweet at us. We're gonna become more active on here, Josh.
Yeah, we are.
We're gonna start doing more videos and reviews and whatever. Maybe start the blog up again. I was reading some of our blog posts and some of the typos that I had. But maybe we could.
It's all about growth. It's all about growth.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah. As always, stay film smart.